Okay, everyone, welcome back to Imperfect Strike. I'm Alice, and today with me I have Alisa from 5051 DC. Welcome, Alisa. Thank you for joining me.
And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
No, this is going to be really great. I'm so interested to see how you've been surviving the martial law that we've had in DC recently. How are you? How are you feeling in this moment?
Everyone keeps asking me that. I would just like to say it's not good out here. I will be completely honest. It's not good out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am exhausted. I've been on like three cop watches over the past 2 days. Gonna
Oh
be
my gosh.
on two more tomorrow. So yeah, it's just gonna be a lot. And it's gonna continue to be a lot because I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we seem to be in it for the long haul now. And yeah, I know we've been trying to get together for a bit, but with the craziness, things get pushed back. And I guess I was just wondering I know the projects that have been keeping us busy at General Strike, but what are the projects that have been going on at 5051? And is it mostly just, street safety organization these days?
Basically, yeah, to be honest, like, yeah, we're working on our next mobilization and everything like that. But in the meantime, like, all of our resources have been going to our street safety team and are on the ground.
Hmm.
Just because we've been trying to help the community with the cop watching, recording, having, and bearing witness to it, basically everything that's going on. And we're also working with some journalists and things like that. Um, so we're trying to get out of the bubble. It seems like we really have a pretty bad media blackout when it comes to what's going on in DC,
Hmm.
to the point that many of the people that I speak to outside of DC really have no idea what's going on. Like the most lukewarm thing I've heard about it was like, oh, they have military in DC now, right?
Wow.
Or yeah, people are like, "What?" I posted something on Facebook, and my mom like reshared it for her friends, because she's freaking out. She's from the Soviet Union, and she was like, "This is how people get killed." So she shared it, and people were like, "What is this even about? What occupation?"
Wow.
And people really have literally no idea what's going on. And like, if you look at my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed, people are like, "I'm so happy to get my kid back to school," and I'm like, "Look, I understand." But this is crazy.
You're like, okay, but I've got tanks on my street.
Yeah, literally.
Wow.
Well, to be fair, it's not tanks on my street, but it's like military vehicles, plenty of
Right.
military vehicles. And they're wreaking plenty of havoc. So
Ooh.
yeah.
I know I worry about this all the time, especially with boomers, because I feel like so many of us we get our real news from social media, right? Because we know that mainstream media just isn't going to cover certain things. And
Hmm.
yeah, I really wonder how they're all staying informed. And we can kind of just post and repost and send things to our friends, but do the boomers know how bad it is? If you're a boomer, please comment down below and let us know. Did you know there were tanks in DC? I should say tanks. Stop saying tanks, Alice.
Military vehicles in DC.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know that we have a National Guard deployed? Do you know that we have 113 law enforcement officers per square foot? Or
Hmm.
I'm sorry, not square foot, per square mile. Um, are
Right.
you aware of that?
And also that this stupid occupation is costing like 5 times as much as it would to just house people, house homeless people, right?
Well, the cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
The point is that people who are on the right wing and people who are on the left wing have a very different opinion on how law should be taken care of.
Hmm.
And as a person, like I can't claim to have studied criminology, but I did study it during sociology, like on a brief moment. So I can't say that I'm like an expert in this, but I can say that I did briefly study this, and what I'm seeing is not what the experts are basically citing in their research studies about what actually drives down crime. So, pretty
Yeah.
interesting stuff. But yeah, I just think it has a lot to do with the right wing. Um, like, there's a lot of, oh man, I have so much to say about the way traditional values and stuff like that has been going these days. But
Mhm.
the TLDR of it really is that, like, people really believe that in order to deter people, there needs to be punishment. Um, but that's like a falsity. Not because it doesn't work. It does partially work. It's just that not everybody's morals work the same way. And in order to do that, you have to kind of think about the, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but
No, I love
you
this. It's
have to
like the
kind of,
philosophy part, you know?
yeah, you have to think about the Kohlberg stages of morality, if you've ever heard of that.
No, I haven't.
I'll read it through to you real quick, but basically the Kohlberg stages, um, yeah, so the Kohlberg st morality stages basically
Hmm.
talk about how do people progress through their understanding of what's right and what's wrong. Um,
Hmm.
and there's three phases. Each phase has two phases underneath. Most people never make it to the highest level of moral development, which is pretty interesting. Um, Yeah, apparently only like 15% of adults
Hmm.
make it to the highest levels of all of that.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty interesting. So basically, you go into the pre-conventional phase, which is here. I'm trying to find a really good image. And then it's all about like reward and punishment. And this is where a lot of people are functioning in when they think
Hmm.
that we need to reduce crime by punishing people. Not to say, again, I'm not saying that punishing people isn't going to like fix some problems.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, it just creates a huge slew of other problems. But the idea that you can fix a problem like this with just reward versus punishment is actually in the pre-conventional phase of in the pre-conventional phase of morality. And this is
Oh.
usually people age out of this by age like 12. But some people don't. Some people just stay in punishment and obedience versus like instrumentalist relativist is what we call it. And it basically is like right and wrong is determined by what we're rewarded for, and doing what other people will reward us for. So yeah, most people age out of this at 12. Um, then you go into the conventional phase, and the conventional phase is like we call two phases inside of it, interpersonal concordance, which means like you're gonna do whatever pleases other people. And law and order, where you have to follow the law to the T, whatever the law says is the correct thing to do. And most adolescents and adults like
Mm-hmm.
are
Yeah.
here for the rest of their lives. But there's actually another phase after that, which is called the
Yeah.
post-conventional phase, which basically means that the law doesn't matter. What does matter is what's right and what's wrong morally. And I just feel
Yeah.
like the idea of punishing people and like sending you to jail for 50 years is going to fix our moral qualms in society, is actually a very pre-conventional idea of morality. And a lot of people are not functioning there. And if they are functioning there,
Hmm.
it would have already worked. So yeah, sorry for the ramble, but just something I was thinking about a lot.
Yeah. No, that was fascinating. Oh my gosh. I'm so intrigued by this. I got to look it up as soon as we're done with the interview. Um, because to be honest, a tiny part of my brain hears all that and goes, okay, but men need to learn even more consequences than
Yeah.
they have ever learned in society. But then the other gianter part of my brain is going, yes, of course, someone does something bad, locking them away in a cell in solitary confinement is never going to make that person understand or better or not do it again, especially when, I don't know, I shouldn't speak on crime statistics, but basically you can solve most crime by just paying
Yeah.
people a livable wage, right? Giving them housing, education. We know this. The studies have been done that show this over and over and over again. A guaranteed income will solve most crimes. And also, the whole, they're making DC safer lie is so blatant. I mean, crime in DC and Baltimore is the lowest it's been in decades, multiple decades. So it's really just this blatant power grab, which everyone realizes, right? But like you said, the issue is, do people even know about it?
No, people don't realize it. People don't know about it and they don't even realize it. First of all, have you heard the main talking point against or pro this, I guess?
No.
Like, have you heard the and so I surf through like conservative
Yeah.
spaces to try to understand where they're coming from. And to try to understand what's actually going on in their minds. And there's this big conspiracy theory right now going around that this idea that we're at a 30-year low is made up by the libtards. And that it was falsified and that the and crime statistics were being falsely reported as low. I'm not sure why the police department would report crime statistics as low, or falsify crime statistics, or how that would particularly benefit them, but that is what people are saying online right now. And they're saying that it's all fake, it's actually terrible in DC. And the Washington, D.C. subs, by the way, are constantly being astroturfed by. I literally had a person in there like saying that he hopes that this will solve the crimes against white people in the streets of DC.
What?
So I'm not even joking with you. I was reading that and I just like I buffered for like 15 seconds and I was like, I can't even respond to this. I just have to scroll
Right.
past. Like,
You buffered. That's awesome.
like I don't know, maybe the biggest white crime or the crime on white people in DC is that they're thinking that there's probably just not enough white people in DC. Like, I have this conspiracy theory that they are just trying to drive off so many different African Americans and black and brown people because there's such a high percentage of them in DC. Um,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
that was my theory.
Yeah. Well, yeah, unfortunately, that's been, many, many years in the making of, there was redlining, and then now people have come in and gentrified the cities and pushing black and brown communities out, so they're priced out.
Hmm.
And, the suburbs are too expensive. So where are people going to go?
Yep.
Where? And now we're criminalizing poverty. So it's a
So,
great time. It's a great time in the USA.
yeah. I also saw two studies that one of them said, and I would be really interested to see how they worded these studies, but one of them said that 27% of people approve of the of what's going on in DC, and another one said 53%. Um, which
That's pretty different.
yes, so and that also highlights the kind of things that are going on because that second one was made by I believe, a Fox News host.
Hmm.
So I'm sure they worded it in some sort of way, and I'm sure the Democratic one also worded it some sort of way. So they're both just targeting their own people, I'm sure. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's hard to say exactly how many people approve of it, but people who don't know what's actually going on here, like some of them really do approve of it, and it's kind of crazy. And it just reminds me of like fascists like being, well, loved because they made the trains go on time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Someone was okay, who was telling me about this? Tankies, right? People who are like pro
Yeah.
pro quote unquote communist countries, but it's really sort of just authoritarianism.
Hmm.
Uh yeah. Wow. Okay, we'll have to do like a tiny sub episode on tankies. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, Elisa, let me back up for 1 second. I think people would love to know. I think most people have heard of 5051,
Hmm.
but I would love to know actually who founded it. And I know it sort of took off because in the early days there was this giant ad run, I think by the Walton family for 5051. Is that how
Hmm.
sort of people found out about it for the first time?
I don't think so. I've never heard of the Walton family running an ad for 5051 actually.
Okay, I should check my
But
sources on that.
yeah, no, it's okay. So it started with like a specific person who actually like gosh, it's such a long story, but basically one person had an idea on Reddit, and this is really the story of 5051. Like it's all about people having their own idea and finally feeling empowered to do it.
Hmm.
So basically, a lot of people, when this is how I always explain it, when people found out that Trump got elected, for the second time, the first thing that happened is people got really, really mad and they looked around and they looked at all of the like C3s, like all the different groups around who, and we were like, what are you guys doing? What is happening? How are we resisting this? And we kind of found a little bit of a power vacuum in that moment, because
Hmm.
we were like, why isn't anyone doing anything? And I'm sure all of those groups were doing something. It's just that it was probably very internal and it wasn't visible to the outside world what was happening. So people got frustrated and someone had an idea. It was just a random person on Reddit, basically, and they said, what if we take 50 states, 50 capitals on one day, and we go and protest there?
Yeah.
Um, and I don't remember the first exact day. It feels like it's been 30 years, but basically that's how it got started. The first time everyone was like freaking out, they were like, "This is some sort of psyop." But once we realized it wasn't, it was just people. The second
Uh-huh.
event grew exponentially. And 5051 really is basically just people around communities who have never been exposed to activism a lot of the time,
Hmm.
wanting to get involved for the first time in their lives. And there's plenty of people who have been involved for long periods of time, but I want to say that the majority of the constituency of 5051 is just people who were like, we need to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think the real power of 5051 has just been the reach and reaching so many people. I mean, millions and millions of people were mobilized on No Kings and Rage
Yeah.
Against the Regime and all these other protests. And, I really hope that we can all these groups, like you said, there's so many different groups, and especially in our area in the DMV, there's just so many people doing so many organizations. And I think, if we all just sort of come together, there's going to be more than enough people to get rid of this stupid regime we're facing.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah. Okay. So this all kicks off on Reddit and people start protesting. And like you said, people's first experience to sort of activism, because so many of us are new to it, right? Ever since the last election.
Yeah.
So when you're out running, protests, running events, things like that, are you bumping into all these other orgs like CASA, Free DC, Flare? Are you
Absolutely.
meeting up with these people? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We've really learned to develop our groups. Like we've definitely learned to develop these relationships, and it's been really amazing working with people who have been doing this for a long time.
Hmm. Yeah. And are they running any trainings right now on sort of street safety, and what are they calling the groups that are sort of coming out and monitoring cops and ICE?
Just cop watch.
Cop watch. Okay.
Literally just cop watch or neighborhood watches.
Hmm.
So I'm part of my own neighborhood watch as well. I go out at least twice a day and in response to anything in the community. And yeah,
Hmm.
there's plenty of trainings going on. Unfortunately, because so many people have been galvanized so quickly, they're filling up really fast. But yes, they're
Okay.
still doing trainings and everything like that. And I just want to, shout out to Harriet's Wildest Dreams for constantly basically creating these cop watch trainings and doing the work and keeping our community safe and working with Free DC on
Yes.
that.
Oh, they're so great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to have them on Harriet's Wildest Dreams.
Hmm.
I first heard of them a few years ago, but I've never like talked to anyone who's actually been working on the team. So Yeah, I would love to reach out and meet them.
Yeah, they're like really overloaded and busy right now, but yeah,
Yeah.
they're around and a lot of them work in free DC as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. So there's some overlap there.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I always wonder, I feel like people are so involved with CASA too in DC.
Yeah,
I wonder,
definitely.
I wonder if they all
And
connect.
MSMA definitely like they're definitely working together very, very carefully.
So what would you say? I mean, this might be different for your specific chapter versus, other chapters nationally, but what would you say are 50/51's sort of end goals for the protests, for the actions? Is it sort of just like refuse fascism where Trump being gone is the ultimate end goal?
I think I actually did a survey on this a while ago and
Hmm.
like amongst the different 50/51 chapters, and a lot of people have a lot of different ideas, but I think everyone can agree on Trump being gone.
Hmm.
And ICE being gone, and like things like that, right? And to stop the authoritarian regime's slide into fascism. So all of those
Hmm.
things are agreeable things. And then 50/51 is a very democratic movement. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to, like when you start spreading out to these other issues and stuff like that, basically it really depends on each chapter, how each person runs their chapter and etc. I would say that 50/51 DC in particular has been working really hard to specifically focus on the authoritarian slide and stopping it, and also on removing Trump, impeachment, even though I feel like that is further from our reach now than ever. But that has been one of our big end goals as well. But we also recognize that just because we get rid of Trump doesn't mean that this ends.
Yeah.
This go around, this is not Trump 1.0. Trump 2.0 is like Grok every single time that they reboot him and fill him full of like Nazi propaganda. So
Oh no. The
you know
worst.
it's true. And
Oh
he's got
yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
henchmen this time. So unfortunately, it's like a single head on a Hydra at this point, you know?
Truly. I mean, yeah. Is it really even him, to be honest? Or is at this point, is it just the Heritage Foundation?
Oh, I
It's
really
like,
think it's him. I just think that they found a way to manipulate him really well. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
It's just all of it. It's all, all the evil people just found each other. And
Yep.
what that's not a party that anyone wants to be at.
Yep.
So they just need to go home and leave us alone.
Call out to a really great book that basically sums up everything that they're doing and hoping for, called The Project.
Hmm.
If you guys, it's very short, but it's really good because it really sums up what is the crux of what is happening and what their goals are. And it's much more radical than you would think.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
In a bad way. Radical in the bad way, people.
Yeah, not in a
Not in
good
the
way. I mean, radical in the sort of way where, like, we are not dealing with traditional conservatives here.
right, right.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to another break. We're coming up to the end of our first season, and while we have focused on interviews, bringing out the human experience with different backgrounds, and highlighting organizations, we want more. If you represent a local group, chapter, or organization and want to share the work you've done, challenges you've faced, and how you've persevered, we want to hear from you. Come share your piece, and let's talk about what you think is needed to achieve a national general strike. Furthermore, we want to start episodes focused on skill sharing and topic highlighting. We want to start creating recorded workshops for people to listen to, with or without materials to include in the episode. If you are interested, please email us at hello@imperfectstrike.live. We will help you construct everything. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
When you were talking earlier about the morality phases that people sometimes don't move past, it just reminded me so much of these conversations I have with people I work with who are definitely more conservative, and it's like pulling teeth to try to get them to see that there are more important things happening than some people came here illegally, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, legality is just a matter of who has the power, who has the privilege in a society. And that doesn't mean right or wrong. Someone coming here because they're fleeing a war-torn country and they didn't get the right paperwork, and we were telling them they had to wait 10 years or something like that. I don't
Hmm.
care. I so don't care.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that Americans who aren't immigrants don't want to do in this society, right? I mean,
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
economies would tank if we got rid of the immigrants, snap of the fingers overnight, our economies would absolutely tank.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it though, like this is what they've been telling their base. They've been telling their base that you just have to bear with it for a little bit and everything will be perfect afterwards.
Mm, interesting. So
Yeah.
even if you're personally feeling the effects of the tariffs, the inflation, even if farmers aren't happy with how things are going right now, I know USDA is going through a huge reshuffle. I don't know how they're all being
Hmm.
affected, but they're just
Pretty
saying,
badly.
right. They're just telling their base that's just temporary growing pains.
Yeah, they basically are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, of course. And as soon as someone started saying fake news, we were all screwed because then they all just stopped believing facts, and sources. So,
I actually did a class recently about how MAGA is a cult.
yeah.
And it's funny, but it's also not funny because of just how true it is.
Hmm.
Can I read you a little excerpt of my presentation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so listen. Uh, okay, cult-like behavior. Okay, so here's some quotes. This is by Roseanne Henry. She says, people don't join cults. They get involved in groups that they are led to believe represent high ideals like idealism, friendship, love, freedom, community, mission, sincerity, salvation, enlightenment, or a spiritual high.
Mm.
Here's another one by Maureen Griffo. Like anyone else faced with a decision, someone decides to join a cult based on the information available to him or her. Unfortunately, cults are notorious for not letting a potential recruit know about the full package. What I thought I was joining and what I actually joined were vastly different from one another.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's just a little bit of like insight into this. But
Hmm.
let's ask ourselves a quick question. Um, why do people join cults or engage in cult-like thinking? One, it makes them feel special or in other ways better than others. Two, it gives them a sense of community and belonging, one that we are lacking so terribly in this society.
Yeah.
Three, easy answers to hard questions. Four, predatory coercion on someone who is suffering. Everyone is suffering, especially like the past, honestly, like ever since the last recession to,
Oh, yeah.
um, worries about health and hope for self-improvement, and of course, financial manipulation. And then why do people stay in cults, right?
Hmm.
They stay in cults because it's hard to get out. Like, you can't just assume someone can walk out of there without losing everything that they have built, like their community, their way of thinking. The cognitive dissonance is huge. But yeah.
Yeah, that's where they get you. It's not just so easy to turn around and say, okay, I don't agree with X, Y, and Z, because you're immediately going to be demonized by everyone you know.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, that puts it into a larger perspective, I think, or more, I guess, a clearer perspective, because I always thought the difference between a cult, I mean, sorry to offend anyone. I think a lot of religions are bordering on cult, right? And so I always kind of thought, oh, well, maybe in a cult you are physically, there's no way for you to leave, right? They're gonna sort of hunt you down, or I don't know, maybe brainwash you so that you think you're incapable of leaving. But that makes it even a wider definition, I feel like, because it's just
Hmm.
sort of losing your friends is the real risk.
Yeah, it's not just that too, though. It's losing your, it's losing face. Because when you have, especially like think about what we have been doing as progressives.
Hmm.
Have we been cutting out our family members? Have we been telling them that they're wrong? Have we been creating these situations for them where now, if they are to admit that they were wrong the entire time, it's really embarrassing.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
think about how embarrassing it would be for you. Like, let's imagine, let's pick something random, right? Let's imagine you really believed that zebras were a type of donkey, or maybe that zebras didn't exist. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Let's imagine you just didn't believe zebras existed, and everybody, all of your life has told you zebras exist, and you're like, no, people have just been painting horses. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And one day you go to Africa and you like interact with a zebra.
Yeah.
How stupid are you gonna feel? Like, how stupid are you gonna feel?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and how ridiculous is everyone going to laugh at you like for being like, wow, I finally learned better. Everyone's like, I told you so,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So it's embarrassing. And of course
Yeah.
that's a low pressure situation. Like the idea that zebras exist or don't exist is a low pressure situation. But what if you lost your grandchildren over it? Like what if
Mm.
they don't talk to you anymore?
Right.
And they're going to laugh at you and say more like they're scared.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Very different. I mean, okay, wait. So what was the answer to the earlier question? Have we been making these situations where we are cutting off relatives for being Nazis? Because I personally, yes. Am I supposed to say no
Yeah,
to
we
that?
have been.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
you're not supposed to say no or yes to that. It's always
Okay.
been a personal choice, right? It's always been a personal choice. Some people choose to cut off their family members, some people don't. And I totally respect regardless of which one you do, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because some people they have the energy and the mind space to stay and try to convince them otherwise. And some people don't, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Okay, so think about this for a second though. Like, let's imagine you have your family member and they have basically turned into a Nazi. This is a list of signs of someone who needs help in a cult/abusive relationship.
Mhm.
Number one, there is someone in their life who is infallible and their word means everything. Check.
Check.
They begin cutting ties with others. Check.
Mm.
They have an us
Maybe.
versus
Yeah.
them mentality, have extreme loyalty.
Hmm.
Check.
Yeah.
Their identity starts changing. Check. There is a high level of control inside of the group or relationship. Yes. Check.
Yeah.
Significant cognitive dissidents were presented with evidence. Check. These
Right.
are all signs of someone being in an abusive relationship, and they happen to be the same signs of being in a cult.
I mean, the really sad part is some people I would definitely say fit all of those criteria, right? There's the cognitive dissonance, there's the believing everything 47 says. Some people I legitimately know have voted for him twice just because of money.
Yeah.
And they still think he's an idiot. And I can't even wrap my head around it. I just don't even know where to start with that because how could you? How could you think he's an idiot, but and and there's a genocide going on and he might occupy our streets, but I want my few extra $1,000 back at my tax return.
It's I'm sorry, I have so many books in
Ugh.
front of me. Like it's like but and do you mind if I go into a brief tangent one more time?
Of course, please. This is Tangent
Oh
Hour with Alison Elise.
man. Yeah. If you ever read Another Call Out to Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, his whole first
Hmm.
chapter talks about how the working class of an oppressed group sabotages itself and why. And why? Because they're scared of being on the bottom. Um,
Yeah.
and like it's really self-degradation, and they don't even realize it. They're degrading themselves and taking away their own rights because they think that one day they could potentially be like the oppressor and they want to suck up to them. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, and the thing you were saying earlier about you know, um, they don't want to change the worldview. I mean, they don't want to look silly or stupid. They don't want to admit they've been wrong, all these things, like with the zebra example. people who can't admit that they're wrong. But this is part of being an adult in our society, I feel like, is, you know, we grew up, we thought the world was one way, and then phones happened and we could see other people's lives. And we learned that we were upholding a racist, white supremacy, patriarchy war machine. And
Mhm.
there's grieving to be had in there, but there's also standing up and saying, we're not going to let that stand anymore. It's time to do the work. And I think so much of them just denying things that they see right in front of their noses is just, I don't want to have to think about these things and I don't want to have to change ever, ever in my life.
I love that you brought that up. I love that you brought that up. Because I think it like brings it to a very societal problem we have, which is where there is a large subsection of people who are not in touch with their feelings and they are scared of their feelings. They have no idea how to process them.
Oh, yes. I was not even taking it there, but yeah, that's totally where that thought wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we are thinking about like if we think about toxic masculinity, I know that that's a bad word these days to some people, but toxic masculinity is a thing, and it's not that masculinity is toxic, it's that you can take it in a toxic way.
Mhm.
Just like you can have toxic femininity, but like it's just like a lot of these people, and a lot of these people are men, of course, but we can't discount the amount of white women that voted for what's his face.
Oh,
But
oh yeah.
but on the other hand, yeah. But on the other hand, like it's just it's just not good, right? And they experience these emotions and they just can't process them, you
Mhm.
know? They're like, what do you mean I'm supposed to feel grief? What do you mean I feel guilt over what has happened in the past? I don't want to feel guilt
Mhm.
over what has happened in the past. Slavery wasn't that bad. And then that's how you get that slippery slope to that last stage.
Right. Yeah, guilt, anger, betrayal, disbelief. There's so many things to process in finding out that our societies have been based on oppression and torture of other peoples. And you have to go through that. Like that's an important part, and they just don't want to. And if we really want to rebrand toxic masculinity, that's fine, sure, whatever. We can just say people who are cut off from the emotions, right? They don't want the emotions to hurt.
Hmm.
They don't want it to hurt.
Yeah. Well, I think that people who don't want their emotions to hurt are misunderstanding where we want people to be when they experience and understand toxic masculinity. Like, we don't want people to experience and understand toxic masculinity in a way to shame you. We want to empower you to be better and to feel better inside of your own body
Yeah.
and to be a better person. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people struggle with the understanding that that's the final point we want, not the guilt.
Right. And you, the men, are being hurt by the patriarchy. The patriarchy is the one telling you you can't access those emotions, which will really help you feel better in the end. And
Hmm.
okay, can I just say every once in a while I have this moment of, wow, I can't believe the patriarchy lets men do XYZ. So
Sure, yeah.
I think this week it was like, oh wow, I can't believe that men are allowed to like dogs, you know? Like, because I can so easily imagine a world where liking any pet is like against the patriarchy.
Hmm. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, sorry. It's just like they're not allowed to access so many emotions. And so
But they can love
but
their
they're
dogs. Is that
still
what you're
allowed to love their
saying?
dog and that in the
Oh,
2000s,
now I get it.
right. And then in the
Yeah.
90s that wouldn't have been gay or anything like that, you know?
Yeah. No, that's funny. I never thought about it that
I
way.
mean, they're not allowed to like fashion, they're not allowed to do XYZ. I'm like, I can't believe they let them have dogs, you know?
Yeah. But dogs have usually been a like masculine thing in history,
Oh,
so
okay. Very,
makes
very
sense.
hunting. Very,
Yeah.
yeah, very chasing things down.
Yes, for hunting. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, toxic masculinity pisses me off because I'm like, I've just dealt with so many men who are just emotionally uncontrollable. Like,
Hmm.
they are not in control of their own emotions. Their emotions are in control of them, you know? So,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, and that's something we don't teach in our society. What do you do when you get so angry that you can't think straight and you're buzzing and your face is red and as adults you're just a little bit more calm once your frontal lobe is developed, I guess, and we don't teach these things
Hmm.
in school, you know? It's just kind of like, "Oh, well, it'll go away."
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we
Oh,
live in a culture of repression, definitely.
yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm loving these tangents so much, but I do want to ask, is 5051 having in-person meetings, or is it kind of like our chapters where people are so bogged down with work and activism and everything like that? Is most of the communication just sort of online and see with the protest?
To answer your question, let me just tell you that I have made more friends in person within the past like 9 months since I started working in activism than I have in probably 5 years.
Oh, so good.
So so yeah, yes, we do a lot of our communications on like, online, but we do prioritize coming out because people need that connection.
Yeah,
And it's really helpful.
for
And
sure.
I
I have
hope you
had
guys can join us sometime.
Yes, I have heard other guests on this podcast say that the 5051 protests have really helped them in this time because
Yeah.
they were in a sea of red, and they needed to go find some blue people and they did it at 5051.
Yeah, it's very affirming. And I mean, I live in a pretty blue place,
Hmm.
but I can only imagine how amazing it must be in a more red place, finding people around that actually share your values who have been hiding it for such a long time, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I do want to say, so there are, when you get together and try to organize humans to do anything, there's always going to be some drama. So I do want to say there's some very mixed feelings about different 5051 chapters in General Strike
Hmm.
chapters.
Hmm.
And to be honest, my chapter is still so small. We don't really do much. We don't really meet up in person. That's maybe on me for not organizing better. I've been focused on other things, but uh I guess I just want to get a sense of, do you feel like there is drama at the national level, or does the DC chapter kind of just like stay out of all that?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, there is drama every single time you go out and you talk to people.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of comical to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, because like some people just get really specific about whatever they're thinking. And that's okay. I'm definitely a peacekeeper. I'm part of the conflict resolution team in my DC chapter.
Hmm.
We have a conflict resolution team in the national chapter too.
Hmm.
So there are like avenues for it. But yeah, I mean, 5051 is a bunch of I mean, this is not an insult, but we're a bunch of newbies, you know?
Yeah.
And there are more, organized people that kind of know things better than us. And sometimes there is conflict, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that we deal pretty well with conflict, as well as we possibly could in DC.
Hmm.
But, I can't really speak to every single chapter. Things happen, and leftist spaces, I would be lying if I were to say that they are positive spaces that everyone is loved and, cherished in, because actually MAGA has it on us on that.
Oh wow.
I have heard in many ways that MAGA is a much more inclusive space in many ways. Unless you try to leave, it's a very inclusive space and they just take anyone.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So
I
no.
mean, unless you have some white supremacists who have trouble with that, but the people who are not in there for the white supremacy, they're like, "Yeah, man, come on in." Like it's kind of crazy how much more of a positive environment they have sometimes. Um I have a lot of
Interesting.
reasons for that, but yes, they are really like that in my studies. What?
Not too many purity tests, I take it.
Yes, exactly. Because they're all like, if you ask them, they're always about like, we don't believe in cancel culture. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's like their whole thing. They're like, no, man, we're gonna be inclusive. And there's something to be learned from there.
Wow.
Definitely for us.
Interesting. Wouldn't that be, oh,
Yeah.
that's so, it just doesn't vibe in my brain because wouldn't, if you've got like a ton of immigrant friends or if you've got, a bunch of trans
Oh, but the
friends, like
difference is,
they
yeah,
wouldn't
but
care
the
about
difference is
them?
they don't have trans friends. They don't have these trans friends. They don't have immigrant friends because a lot of
Okay.
these people are in very like how do I say this? Like sheltered areas. Maybe not sheltered because sheltered implies that they haven't been exposed to hardship. And that's definitely not true. It's more like they live in a bubble of their community.
Hmm.
If you think about it, right, most conservatives, most MAGA people, and oh God, I can't conflate conservatives to MAGA people because they're not conservative. It's a whole mess, um,
Yeah.
but basically, like if you think about it, they're usually living in the country, right?
Hmm.
Or even in the suburbs, which are inherently much more bubbled places than cities. Like you have a lot less community in those areas. So they don't have trans friends.
Right.
Because maybe those trans friends don't want to tell them, or because in their white picket fences, nobody stays if they are trans. You know what I mean? So they don't have those kinds of friends.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but amongst those people who do come in, they look like them, right? They agree with them. As long as they agree with them, they usually take them. And there are, you would be surprised, there are plenty of MAGA people who are actually not homophobic, um, at least not outwardly,
Mhm.
or they might not be racist. Like they have internalized racism and homophobia, but outwardly, like that 90s definition of what racism and homophobia is, like they don't match it.
Interesting.
And so for that same reason, they don't see themselves as homophobic. They don't see themselves as racist. They don't see themselves as sexist.
Hmm.
Um, so in their minds and in this like kind of culture, this subculture that has popped up, they just kind of they accept each other in a way that they understand. Does that kind of
Right.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because a lot of people have sort of had you know, um, these moments of saying the leftists, there's too many purity tests going on, and there's too much
Hmm.
infighting, and there's too many different organizations. Why can't we all just sort of get together and really make this happen, like really take this regime down? But to me, I think it's just people who, for the most part, want the same type of things, right? The regime to end, the Heritage Foundation and all their evil plans to go. And I do think some certain organizations are going to be more revolutionary, right? Some are going to be
Hmm.
more so like, okay, let's get back to the Constitution. And then some, like General Strike, are
Hmm.
going to be like, okay, we need a new Constitution, though, actually. Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
we should just give the land back and, let's start there.
Yeah. Hmm. So
But
would you say general strike is more anarchistic in nature?
ooh, great question. Actually, yeah, I recorded an episode on anarchy and I learned a lot. Um, a lot of people would identify with anarchy. Yeah, I think they
Hmm.
would. I
Hmm.
mean, like just like you said for your organization, very decentralized, right? Different chapters are going to feel different ways, but for
Hmm.
the most part, people are going to be very far left, right? They're going to be not right, far left. They're going to be very pro-Palestine, very anti-Zionism.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, they value diversity, they value true change, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Diversity, dissent, and yeah, these are going to be the core values. So I don't know. I think if a lot of people sort of started entering the GSUS space and saying, okay, we want a labor strike, but we're still okay with the Supreme Court as it is, or something like that. I think
Hmm.
hopefully there's
Yeah.
enough of us that would sort of push back on that and say, no, no, this is something that super needs to be overhauled. And you know
Hmm.
hopefully there's an intrinsic sort of sense, right? And actually there's a big pushback to there was a debate about partnering with certain organizations, 50-51 included, at a national level versus just chapter levels. And to be honest, I think if we're all decentralized, then national partnerships shouldn't really even matter so much anyway, right?
Hmm.
I think if you and I are talking and we have the same sort of aims, then our organizations can get together and help each other out on the ground. And that's what we've been
Hmm.
seeing in DC. It seems like you've already been seeing that in real time. Bing, 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 bing. Hi, everyone. Alice here with a commercial break. It's time to play Switch Their Budgets. Today we have teachers and the Pentagon. Too obvious? Back to the episode now. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, I don't think we need national partnerships so much. I think what we're like the antidote to fascism is community. And oh my God, I have so much to say about the antidotes to fascism,
Oh, pop
uh
off.
but basically like the antidote to all of this is community. Like if people can like I hate to be all love and whatever, but like if we all just got together, this wouldn't be happening. But the problem is that people are in bubbles and people have these beliefs about each other and about women especially and about black women especially even more than just women in general and
hmm
black and brown people in general and they have all these ideas and opinions and they probably have never even gotten to know somebody who's black or brown
Yeah,
and like it's kind of embarrassing if you think about it like imagine going through your life and really believing things like that and really believing that somebody who shares like what 98% of your genome is a subhuman person. Like just imagine that. Like
that's yeah, severely messed up. Yeah. And sad for that person, but mostly sad for the other people who are more affected by your views.
yeah,
Mm,
definitely.
wow.
And specifically like what you were saying like I think it sounds like you guys were talking a little bit about like partnering versus not partnering based on how much organizations want to enact change or not.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, one thing I can say is that regardless of whether we all want to enact like more change, less change, this is a time for us to come together. And you know what, when the dust settles, we can figure that out. That's really my opinion.
Mm.
Um, but like the dust has to settle, like the scuffle has to happen.
Right.
Um, so
For sure. And that's very refuse fascism. They've been saying, however we rebuild, it needs to end now. They need to go now.
mhm.
And I love that
Yeah.
they've put up this call for November 5, come swarm the government buildings in DC. I think that's going to be great.
Hmm.
A good place to start.
Yeah.
And we can all come together on the same day. And because, whatever solution we choose will work if enough people do it. And half the battle, more than half the battle, is just getting everyone to agree on the day and the place and the,
Yeah.
method of resistance, right?
Yeah. But I think there's a place for multiple methods of resistance.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing that I want to point out is like, so I basically teach classes on like civic engagement and the history of protests and stuff like that. And one of the ones that I did was basically talking about like which nonviolent resistance movements worked and which ones didn't. I just want to allude real quick to the Egyptian Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so yeah, so the Arab Spring and 2011 Egyptian Revolution. Was basically um let me just give a little bit of like background on this.
Mhm.
There was a dictator, Mubarak, who was in power for approximately 30 years. He succeeded another president and he immediately maintained emergency powers, and these emergency powers lasted from 1981 to 2011. I don't know what kind of emergency could have been going on from 1981 to 2011 for that long of a time. But basically, he was like, "Nope, it's still an emergency measure," and I want to like just draw that in where I feel like 47 is about to do exactly this.
hmm
Where these emergency powers, if he, declares national emergency, gets emergency powers, and then he just doesn't turn off the national emergency, right?
Right.
So from 1981 to 2011, Mubarak basically maintained emergency powers, which restricted the freedom of the press, assembly, expression, and gave power to security and police. It also created circumvention of the normal judicial system, which allowed people to be held without charge or trial, and they could be tortured or held in horrid conditions. Um, This was 18 days of protest, and he stepped aside.
Hmm.
After just 18 days of protest. But here's the problem.
Hmm.
They didn't have a plan afterwards. And they
Oh,
didn't have a plan afterwards. And, we say now, like, we need this to stop now. And that's true. But we do need to have some sort of plan on what to do next, at least an idea. All of these groups, like you guys, like 5051, like Indivisible, everything like that, like we need to at least have an idea of what happens next.
yeah.
Because if we don't, they um, the Egyptian revolution fell. Like the new democratic movement fell after I think 2 years, and now they have an even worse dictator, like authoritarian, in power, which basically is going on still now.
Oh,
So just a cautionary tale, I suppose.
yeah, not great. And I think you're right. To be honest, I think people are so mired in the trauma and the stress that they're going through now that I think a lot of people are just saying, okay, if we can get to getting Trump out, or if we can get to the midterms, or whatever their sort of end goal is, right, then we'll be okay. Um,
Hmm.
but you're right. People do need to start talking about this now because if he's gone, then who do we have? Do we have Vance? Do we have the Speaker of the House? Do we have Kamala? I mean,
Yeah.
what are we envisioning here? A lot of people are saying AOC is going to be the next presidential candidate for the Democrats. And I think that would be far better than anything we've had so far. But I also think AOC has become more and more moderate. And I mean,
Hmm.
Kamala was talking about a lethal fighting force. I think there's such an opportunity here, such a missed opportunity so far, because there was that guy, who's that guy in Britain who started the Socialist Party and immediately had hundreds of thousands of people join. And
Hmm.
if Bernie and AOC would just do the damn thing and start the third party that's not the Green Party or whatever, they would have millions of people would instantly switch over, I think.
Well, the
Because,
Democrats are just failing us so abysmally.
right, exactly. I mean, you see the younger, newer guard coming in. We've got Zoran, we've got who is it? Is his name Omar? I'll have to double check
Yeah.
someone out in Minneapolis, but these people who are standing on principles and truly working for the working class. And the DNC is saying, no, you can't have these people. Or they're trying their hardest.
Yeah, that's because they're bought and paid for.
Truly.
Yeah, literally.
It's the
I
war machine. I need a buzzer, Alisa. Every time I say on this podcast, it's all the war machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get you a buzzer, no problem.
Okay, thanks. But I mean, I'm so encouraged by the work that y'all are doing. I I can't imagine. I mean, I go into DC sometimes for work, but then I come home to my streets where I see no cops or ICE. And I mean, it's so easy. I think it's so easy for so many people to pretend it's not happening, but you guys are there on the ground doing the damn thing. And so I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm glad to get to know y'all in 5051. And I'm so glad you could come on and talk about all this theory. And I love the philosophizing part of it, if that's a word.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it wasn't, I don't know. I have so much to ramble about, and I am glad it is useful to someone.
No, absolutely. I really haven't gotten into like the psychology of the cult of MAGA yet, so that was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
and is there any
they're
last
crazy.
tangent that you'd like to take us on before we wrap up?
Yeah, let me just wrap up with a story. I have one person that I know who is MAGA, and I keep them around for a number of reasons. One of them is that I can bounce ideas and try to understand what their thought process is about things.
Mhm.
And I asked him, like, maybe in February, like, why did you vote for Trump? Like, that was the first time that I even learned about it, to be honest.
Yep.
And I was like, why? I'm like, he's such a bad person. He was like, well, I'm not looking for a good person. I'm looking for a plumber. The United States is got a what did he say? He was like, the United States has a clogged toilet and I need a plumber to get it out. And I really don't care if my plumber is a bad person. I just need him to be able to do the job. And Trump is the only person I can trust to do the job.
What?
Hmm.
Oof. Hearing Trump and trust in the same sentence is not, it's very throwing
Hmm.
me for a loop. I can't really handle
I'm
that.
just I hope to give people an understanding of MAGA philosophy and like where they're coming from a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Because I've been studying it ever since this started, trying to understand. And these are the kinds of things that I've been learning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll share one of my, because I have many MAGA run-ins, or I don't know if they'd call themselves MAGA, actually, but many
Hmm.
military run-ins at work.
Yeah.
So the day or the week after the election or whenever we saw each other and seeing a lot of them come in and, oh no, actually, sorry, this definitely wasn't right after the election. This was like the first round of crazy executive orders that dropped.
Hmm.
So, and the mass firing of federal workers in government and Doge coming in and just sort of indiscriminately closing entire offices. And a lot of them came in and said something needed to change, but not like this.
Hmm.
And I still don't even know what they meant by that. And I've tried to have them come on the podcast. I really want to get into it. I want to understand, something had to
Hmm.
change. And the only thing I can think of is maybe financially, or maybe because they're all ex-military, right? Or current military. Maybe they're tired of seeing their friends sent off to war. I don't know. But how could you think that those things would be solved by MAGA? I can't understand the leap, from those two thoughts.
Well, let me maybe shed a little bit of light. This new breed of MAGA is not conservatism. They are not conservatives. A lot of them were never Republicans, or they were Republicans, but nominally only. Some of them were libertarians. And what they say and what they think is they see the corruption in the system just like we do,
Yeah.
but their version of fixing it is if we nuke it, something will shake out.
Wow.
That's been my findings. Yeah.
If we nuke it, yeah. Yeah. Then what? I mean, it's just not through. If we fire everyone and we privatize the entire government in a tech bro
I
fashion.
don't think it's that well thought out. I think it's a general vibe. Okay.
Oh, okay, it's just
It's
a
a
vibe.
vibe of
Okay.
destroy everything and rebuild it. I think that's the vibe. So
Okay. Well, that's what I've learned this episode is the vibes in MAGA are immaculate.
apparently.
Apparently, right. They can't pull the people away. They can't, I don't know.
They can't leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Once
they're
they,
scared of liberal vibes, which are apparently not immaculate.
that's right. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the vibes are pretty good over here. What do you think?
They can't, well, just back to your conversation about like
Well, yeah.
infighting versus
Right.
and not infighting. I think they can definitely be not immaculate.
Fair enough.
So I'm not saying that they're not good. I'm just saying that I wouldn't say they're immaculate. But
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And to be honest, I think so much of that infighting, quote unquote, is just the old guard versus the new guard and the sort of, the moral test of Palestine is
Mhm,
just such a division for the left right now.
mhm.
And God, it's 2 years. It's 2 years into a genocide, and people who just won't, you know,
Accept it.
accept it. Exactly. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Yeah. And I really hope that AOC can get on board with where we need to go because she's been very wishy-washy. And I think
Mhm.
that's only gonna continue to haunt her if she can't get past this and do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she says the right things, right? It's sneaky. It's a little verging on gaslighting. She'll put out a post, but then she'll also vote to continue funding Israel. So it's not great.
What has
Those
happened?
vibes are not great.
Those vibes are not great. Oh my God, the DNC vibes are not great in general.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely the worst right now. Okay, yeah, let's make that revision.
Hmm.
I'll say organizing leftists, the vibes are really great. And even when there is some infighting, I still get so much hope from talking to people who are doing what we do. And I think they're, 99% of the time they're doing it for the right reasons. They want mostly the same things. Those vibes are great. And then it's just sort of us versus the old guard at this point. I'm gonna make that,
I think there's definitely some truth to that. 100%. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, listen, it's a little scary over here. It's a little scary when you have to admit that climate change is real and we need a giant overhaul of everything. But that also presents so
Mhm.
many opportunities. We get to come together and dream together. And, why aren't people just, I don't know, what's a bike train invention that someone can make? I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point, but
No, you're good. But
inventors.
don't you see that MAGA thinks the same way?
Yeah, exactly.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's just the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, I know. I need them to first consider that people need money so they can eat. That's
I need them to first consider that people are actual human beings.
yes. Okay, good. Let's start there.
Let's start there. And we are not just a product of capitalism. But anyways, go ahead.
No, I have to have you back on because this was too much fun. But also, I feel like you'd be a really good person. We can lay out sort of like the steps that everyone goes through of the political unlearning, right? And
Yeah,
how we all went from sort of normal Democrat liberal to where we are now. I feel like that would be very interesting to put our finger on that.
definitely. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to have you back then. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. And I
Okay.
appreciate you.
Hope to see you soon. I hope we can all meet at a flare station or wherever.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you a message.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Hmm.
Have a good one. Imperfect Strike is recorded and edited by Alice and Maeve. To learn more about the General Strike or to sign your strike card, please go to generalstrikeus.com.